Good afternoon. So, I wanted to tell you all my dream, and I already looked up the interpretation of it. So, I'm just going to tell you the dream really quick, and then I'll give you a quick rundown on the interpretation. So, in the first part of the dream, I was in a classroom, and it started off with just a few people, and we were just waiting for the teacher to arrive. And so we had been waiting for a while, and it seemed like more and more people started to show up to the class. And as time went on, it was getting later, it was going into the evening, but it was still light outside. And, the people just started getting really relaxed and it was getting very comfortable. And I believe it was like a Bible study type of class. It was like Bible study, but the teacher wasn't there. So I decided to get up and go outside for some reason. So I went outside and I saw this person standing there and I thought that I recognized them. And for some reason, like their face was like shadowed and I couldn't really see their face clearly, but I was kind of just like looking at them like almost like just their outline and like how they were dressed. And I thought it was this person that I supposedly knew in my dream. And so I went over to them to give them a hug, but when I began to hug them, I didn't feel like it was that person. So I felt like I didn't know them. So I like backed off and I looked at their face really closely and I realized that it wasn't who I thought it was. And to make it even more interesting, the person was, from what I could see, they looked like they were a woman dressed like a man and like pretending to be a man. So I was just like, oh, I'm sorry. And I just like walked away. And then they began to follow me. And, you know, I told them to like stop following me, but they kept following me. And then I started to run away. So I ran away, and then I ended up going to some like a building, it kind of like an apartment building or something like that. And there was like an elevator, so you had to get on this elevator in order to, just to go upstairs or whatever. So when the elevator doors they opened up, there was a man standing in. It was a young man standing in the elevator, and he was holding a white thermos in his both. He was holding it with both hands, and he was just standing there like very proper, and he was just like standing there holding this white cup. And so when I looked at him, I was thinking like, oh, there he is. That's the person who I thought the other person was. So I was like, okay. And as I stepped into the elevator, I looked to the side and I noticed that there was a woman standing there with her back against the wall, and she was just like facing this way. So he's facing me, this woman's facing this way, and I'm facing him. So I step into the elevator and I turn around and I took a step back and I backed up on him, and I could feel the mug that was in his hand, and I could feel that like the mug was like really hot and it was on my back. And I just remember feeling the heat coming from the cup. And then I looked over to where the lady was, and she was like reaching to put her hand in his pocket. And I remember he had on like these gray sweatpants. Either they were like navy blue or gray. Anyway, he had on these sweatpants and she was putting her hand in his pocket. So I had took her hand out of his pocket, and I said to her, like, you can't be putting your hand in his pocket. And she just sat, like, leaned back and just looked at me, like, just like that, and she didn't say anything. And but in my mind, I felt like this man was like kind of like a boyfriend to me. Like, he was like my boyfriend, even though he didn't say anything to me, and I didn't say anything to him. So then right after that, I noticed that he just had a snake in his hand, and it was a green snake, and he put the snake into this woman's mouth. And I was like, what in this world? Why did he do that? So I turned around and I looked at him like, what are you doing? And then he took his other hand and he put a snake in my mouth. And this snake was a blue snake. And so in the dream, I remember thinking, like, well, these snakes are not even real. So then the elevator opened. No, the elevator did open, but I was looking at him, and I was looking at his mouth, and he had opened his mouth, and I was just looking at his teeth. And I noticed that his teeth didn't look like the teeth of the person I thought he was. So his teeth just looked like somebody else's teeth. But at the same time, I was thinking that his teeth looked like the teeth of a snake. But they weren't like just fangs. It was like human teeth, but I don't know, they were like spaced apart. And I thought that in my mind, I was like, they look like snake teeth. But you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, he really didn't look like a snake, and his teeth really weren't like snake's teeth. But his teeth were like different. I don't know how to explain his teeth, but his teeth did not look like the teeth of the person who I thought he was. So anyway, so then we all stepped out of the elevator. And I realized like that I didn't want to get off on that floor, and I was thinking I wanted to go higher. I wanted to go to a higher level and not get off, because it was like they got off on the second floor, but I wanted to go to the 5th floor or something like that. So I was like, oh, I don't even know why I got off the elevator. And I got back on the elevator, and the elevator had went back down to the ground level, and I was like, oh man, I went back down. So I went out and I started walking back, and then there was this person that I don't even know who this person was, but they said to me, they were like, it's getting late, you might want to head back now, because they're gonna lock the door. So I was like, oh, and then I started running, and I went back to the building where the class was. In fact, I didn't even run. I was running, and then I just started picking up, and I started flying. And I felt like I was like flying, like my finger was like directing me as I was like flying with all I had to do was like point my finger, and I was like taking corners, like I was like driving with my finger. This is really strange, because I don't remember ever doing that in my dream before. And I got in, the door was open, and I just like flew in, and then I was just like, I felt like I was like parking, like I was like in a invisible vehicle, and I was just like flying around. And I was just like thinking while I was like doing it, I was like, people were probably looking at me like, what is this woman even doing? How is she doing this? And I was just like, let me just get back to the ground so that I ain't flying around the building looking strange, right? So that's what it was. And that was the end of the dream. So after having that dream, I went online to look up what the biblical meaning was for that. It's particularly the part with the snakes, because that was the part that was concerning me. So let me see. Okay, so apparently having a blue snake in your dream is a message from God. And it really just basically means that you're going through a transformation process. And, you know, that you're gaining wisdom. It has something to do with like heaven, and that you're just going through this process. And it's actually a good thing. Okay. So, it also could mean that you're going to face a powerful enemy who will try to hurt you. Which brings me to the next part of the interpretation, which is for the green snake that went into the other person's mouth. The green snakes represent evil, the devil, deceit, jealousy, and secret malice. Okay, so those will be like, you know, your enemies, fake friends, backstabbers, ravenous wolves with sheep's clothing on. You know, people that you can't really trust, people who smile in your face and talk about you behind your back and plot things on you, try to cause you to fall, try to cause you to, you know, lose things in your life, you know, try to knock you off of your square, you know. And it's all coming out of, you know, just like jealousy and just really, I think that's really the bottom line. So I want to pray against that right now in the mighty name of Jesus' name. I pray against every snake that comes to try to kill, steal, and destroy anything that belongs to me and my family, my children. In the mighty name of Jesus' name.